You're listening to Post-Traumatic Stress, hosted by Charlotte Dee, a weekly podcast to connect creatives and communicate about the highs, lows, and laughs of being in a creative industry.
Just holds up.
We are getting way too excited in here. Welcome to Post-Traumatic Stress, episode 5. I am joined today by a very loud air conditioner that I'm turning off right now. And also human guests, not just an air conditioner. I have with me today a returning guest, an amazing returning guest called Isabella Jacqueline, which is very exciting for me to have her back another time. And I am also joined by Andreas Piechulik. Is that how I say it?
Very well. You did it so well. Yes.
We had much discussion about the pronunciation of poor Andreas's name, and I'm sure I've butchered it, but I did do my best. Hi guys, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on today. Today we are going to be talking all about screen and the power of a visual moment on screen from all different angles, hopefully. Now, Isabella, we know you, or Bella, as you prefer, already from a previous episode. But for those that haven't listened to that yet, she is an amazing actor. I prefer actor rather than actress. I like to just have a neutral term. Hope that's okay with you.
Why not?
And also, she has created amazingly at such a young age, because she's a crazy boss-ass woman, a production company called Other Side Films. And at the moment, she has one that's quite popular called Whose Crime Is It Anyway? And it is all about sexual assault on film sets.
Yep.
Yep. That's very succinct. Yep.
That's the best answer. Yep.
That's all she's got. Yep.
Exactly.
That is true. These things are true. And Andreas is also an actor. But you guys do other things as well. You do other things. You're not just an actor.
We write.
Yeah.
We do stuff, yeah.
You do all sorts of things. And he is in an upcoming movie called Balboa Boulevard. He is also well known for 2 short films called Imperfect Quadrant and The Silent City. You should check them out. I've stalked you, Andreas, and I believe you realised your passion for acting when you were in high school, performing on stage in Germany.
That's so correct.
Yeah, I'm a good little stalker.
Yeah, very good, very well. Yes.
You travelled to the US as a teenager, and you currently, there's an upcoming film, I'm not sure why I'm holding this so close to my face, I'm holding my papers up for those that are listening at home, are in a film coming out called Glimmer of Hope, which is all about a Polish priest where you had to learn Polish?
Correct, yes.
How was that?
Interesting, because obviously growing up in East Germany, we had a choice of learning Russian as well. So I took Russian and I said to the guys, look, I love to audition for the Polish priest, even though I'm not speaking Polish, but I'm sure I can learn it because I can speak some sort of Russian. And they said, yeah, sure, we'll give it a go. And yeah, we had a translator and I learned my lines, and apparently Polish people can understand me, so
that's always a bonus.
It worked. So that's great. Yeah.
Amazing. How long did it take you to learn all your lines in Polish, and what was that like?
Thankfully it was a short film, so there wasn't too many lines. I don't know how long it took, like just a couple of weeks, I guess, like repetition.
Just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's
no
just
big deal.
It's repeating it and just getting the pronunciation right, like.
Because is it true that if you've learned like a couple of languages already, it's easier to pick up another one?
Definitely, I would say so, yeah.
Poor me.
See, I got ripped off. I was born in England, so I'm born somewhere else, but what did I get? English. And then Australian.
Unfair.
So I know, it doesn't even count. I'm ripped off. Well, I think that's amazing and lovely, and I think you guys are going to be perfect to talk about all such things film today. In particular, the first thing I want to talk about is, what do you think makes a good scene? For example, do you think it's based on the quality of the work and then the perspective of the audience, or do you think there's just some magic formula in the editing room and the sound design team and the script? What do you think? What makes a great watchable scene on screen?
Ladies first, if you like.
Thank you. Well, 2 things. I think firstly, there has to be that semblance of story there. If it's a scene for nothing, it shouldn't be a scene that ends up in the final cut, because it's just going to distract the audience and put time onto the narrative. I do think that editing is hugely important. You know, an actor's performance may be flawed, but in the editing room, it can be made to look brilliant. In the same way, an actor's performance can be downplayed in the editing room, because there is quite a hierarchy. You want your lead actors to look better than your supporting actors, unfortunately. And a lot of things are edited to that way. I think it's less about the individual actors even and the editing, and more about in the terms of the entire story of that script. How does that scene fit? And I think making sure that it has an arc, that it's in there for a reason, that it's moving on to the next scene, that will move on to the next one, that will eventually build. If there's a scene that's pulling you backwards, then that's not a scene that's helpful for anyone.
For audiences, they don't think about any of that, though. They just see something and they're like, oh, I like this. What do you think, like, what do you think happens for them? Because they're not thinking, oh, I really liked the, you know, you're right. You'll get the technical, you're so right, but they're not thinking about, like, yeah, I really liked the way it arced and I really liked what the editing guy did. Like, what do you think is happening for them as an audience?
I think it's if they believe what's happening in that scene, so if it has believability in it, but also if they connect to the character, you know, like, I think that makes the scene, like, you could have the best scene in the world, but if you don't like the character, if you don't like the actor, it's like, yeah, I didn't like it that much. But if you're all in it, involved in it, I think that makes any kind of scene the perfect scene, because the people are just drawn to it, they connect with the character. Like you said, it's the whole kind of film, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as well, editing makes such a difference in filming, but I always believe if you believe what you're doing in the scene as an actor and you feel it, it shall translate outside of it and the audience will catch it. But as a viewer, non-actor, I think for a perfect scene, it could be the music introducing it, which puts them in that nice mood of either, you know, happiness, sadness, and go, oh, that was very touching.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so many things.
Yeah, I think sound definitely for me. Like, just the difference between when you watch something like without the sound, it changes everything. Like, sound design, I think, is a huge impact. Talking about audiences, then, do you think it's what they bring? Like, you were talking about characters and them not liking a character. Do you think they can watch something, not like a character, and still enjoy the scene, or do you think they have to like the person? What do you think?
That's a good question. In terms of enjoying the scene, I mean, like, you can watch Game of Thrones, for example, and you hate one particular guy who's an asshole on the show, and you go, oh my god. So technically you didn't enjoy the scene, but it was a fantastic scene because it puts you in this mood of hating that character, the actor in that scene. So I don't know if that's the perfect scene then as well, because it did something to you. You know?
It moved you still.
It moved you, exactly.
Yeah.
So therefore, I think you can not like the character and still make it a great scene, but you might not enjoy it as much. Like, you know.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's so much about liking the character as understanding them.
Yeah.
If an audience really understands the motives behind what a character is doing, it doesn't matter if they're the most dislikable character in cinematic history, they're going to have a degree of empathy and interest in that individual because they'll see why. And if they don't know why, it's very one-dimensional and they aren't very connected. But if they find two characters that they're like, ooh, I don't know, this guy's bad, this guy's kind of good, but they've both got aspects to them, I think that's what makes a really good scene, because nothing should be one-dimensional.
True point.
Yeah, I don't know what this says about me, but I really enjoy watching villains in movies. Like,
Same.
I think they're so interesting. I love them. Even in, like, Disney movies when I was younger, you know, I really liked, is it Scar in The Lion King? Mufasa's brother? He's so evil and it's so sad. He kills Simba's dad. For anyone, I'm getting really into this. But I think it's what you're saying. It's still so watchable because of the why. So I think it's being able to connect with maybe the worst parts of yourself even. Like, you could, you know?
I was going to say that. I personally like villain as well, but I would see myself as a nice guy in normal life. I mean, I'm a nurse, and I think it wouldn't work well if I was a villain at work. You know,
You'd hope not.
One would hope.
Yeah, one would hope. But I like playing the bad guy as well, just because you get a chance to explore that kind of side in you when you're in a safe environment, which,
maybe it brings us back to them being authentic, and you guys were both talking about watching something that is real. Like, what's the point of having a scene if it's just a scene, or, you know, the character has to have truth to it. And I think even a villain is super watchable if they have truth to their performance, and they have their why, they have their reason, they have their...
And why often the villain will be more watchable than the hero? It's because the writer and the director will be like, okay, well, this is the villain. We have to make sure we've got the reason why he's the villain. But the poor hero is often left out because by default, that's the hero. So they don't have enough whys. They don't have enough aspects to themselves.
Yeah.
They're sort of two-dimensional, and the villain is often three-dimensional, which is brilliant. But that means as a creative industry, we need to learn to make sure that the hero is even more rounded, because we often leave the hero because we get too caught up on the villain. And then we're teaching an audience the same thing.
Yeah. And like, they're always this same sort of whitewashed like image of like a hero. It's always the same image.
People are flawed.
Yeah, exactly. And people are flawed. And maybe that's why it's so interesting to watch a villain, because I think I'm going to talk about topic 3. This is leading into topic 3. You know, like, we're talking about, is anything original on screen anymore? And do audiences just want this same comfortable, expected formula that we're given of like the hero and the villain, and the hero's always lovely, and maybe they've got a little bit of a problem and they overcome it, and you know, like, I think I, for one, am getting sick of that. But I don't know what do you think? Do you think audiences are getting sick of that? Are you getting sick of that?
I think, like, for me, what I'm personally getting sick of right now, because you have all these platforms, you know, from Netflix over Stan over whatever. You can watch a show in one day if you got the time, but it's just every show is trying to put in so much into it, you know, any kind of topic, regardless, related, whatever, they have to put it in, and so you have all these different things. It's too much input, it's overwhelming, and you just want a simple story, but if it's written well, if it's got the characters in it, you can connect to the characters. That's all I want to watch, you know, like I'm an 80s child. I love 80s movies. They're always good. There's always like a love story in there, and it's great, you know, like, but now it's just like, here they come in, the aliens come from this guy, but then turns out this guy's homosexual. Oh my god, we got to put that in as well. Racism, what about racism? Yeah, put that in. Disability, put that in. Put everything in, and it just, maybe it's too much in some shows, whereas if you have a certain genre, you have certain characters, and you connect with the characters.
Yeah, I think it's why you're putting it in there. Like, it's if it's like a natural story, then those elements should be in there. But I think what you're saying is they're putting them in there for the sake of it, rather than it being like a real story with someone who has a disability, for example, because that's
They're
real.
just putting it into tick boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For some shows, you know, like others, exactly, it fits and it goes well, but I think it's because every show is competing with the next, and you have to have all these things on top. You know, I think it's sometimes a bit overwhelming as well as probably the speed to get those shows up and running, because, you know, like, there's another one. Okay, this one has already been done. We've got to add another 5 things at least into it to make it even better than the first one to compete. Yeah, it's
Yeah. What do you think, Belle?
And I think a lot of the time, we're really very also CGI heavy at the moment, more and more so. And I think audiences aren't getting sick of it because they are enjoying it, especially the younger audience. But I do think we could give them something more, because we have that hero, like we were saying, that poor one-dimensional hero. And then we've got that villain who's a rounded character, and they clash. And then we've got our CGI, and we've got our B storylines of all our political issues that we jam in, like we were saying. And I think what would be awesome is if we actually could have a show where we were telling other sides to things, you know, everything is very, very black and white.
Yeah.
And if we can have 2 people and we don't know who to sympathise with, I think if the audience are allowed to make up their own mind more, that would be very powerful, because they're not allowed to.
Yeah.
And is it really an opinion if we're reinforcing, that's bad, you should never do that? All we're doing is reinforcing social prejudices. We're doing nothing to make them question themselves, question human morality, and go out of the cinema actually and talk to the person next door to them and go, wow, that impacted me.
Yeah.
And nothing at the moment is really impacting people.
Yeah. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Like, I think it's just that same old thing, and we're not making anyone think. And you can almost watch the start of something and see exactly what's going to happen throughout the whole thing.
Correct, because it's over and over and over then. But if you watch a show like Atypical, the guy with autism in the show. Fantastic show. It's just very catching, and yes, there's the normal family drama to it, but the characters are so well put together, and the show is so simple that you don't need to, what's coming next. You're just interested to explore the character's journey on their way in the show, rather than, okay, who's next, what's next, but it just has a nice flow to it. Whereas some shows, it's just, okay, top it.
Yeah, I agree.
It gets too much, yeah.
I feel like I'm definitely, for me personally, I'm just getting sick of going to see things, and you're right, it doesn't make you think, it doesn't change you, they're not real versions of human beings to me. Like, human beings are flawed and unusual and unpredictable, and I just feel like there isn't a lot out there right now, and I wonder if audiences will ever get sick of that and realise that they're just being sort of sold this same overstimulating, it's almost like a drug-like coma you go into when you watch these things. You switch off with most of the stuff you watch on, like, I don't want to bag Netflix because I love Netflix and I watch it all the time. But, you sign up to a series and you watch it, and for me, I feel like half the time I'm just, like, gazing vacantly at the screen. So it's not changing me. It's not, like, how do we...
And I think it's one point what you just said. It's because you have the chance to watch the whole three the whole three seasons in one hit. I think that makes a difference.
Because you don't digest it.
Exactly. If you have the one show per week, you'll be fresh, you'll be, maybe a bit more connected. But now, because you can watch it and you start at 8 p.m, but then it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're still watching it, of course you're going crazy, and that, I think that drains us, it drains me personally. You are invested, but you do want to watch the next one, so it turns into...
And I think then it's formatted like that because they know that's how we're going to be watching it.
Yeah.
It is,
so they're giving us a couch watch, something that we can just lay back and not really think about. It will all be spelled out to us. It's literally just for the sake of making our eyeballs fixate on something.
It is.
Yeah.
Do you think people will ever get sick of that, though? Do you think people are getting sick of that? I am. Like, I just don't know how do we change this? Like, I mean, other than writing and producing the work ourselves, which is wonderful, but... I don't know. Will that ever change? It's been going, like you and me, I feel like it's been that way since the 80s. Like, when will this change, and why hasn't it? Like,
I don't know that it will change because, not collectively, because the majority of people aren't really invested in a story. They don't.
They just want to enjoy themselves.
They've never maybe been invested, so they don't know the feeling. You have to try something before you're hooked on it, right? So, I think a lot of people, but there are people that do want more, and that is why there is some content that's coming out, especially indie cinema. Hollywood is starting to crash for that reason, and Netflix isn't at the moment. But I think as the younger generation of creatives come through, they are starting to think a little bit more out of the box, which could be brilliant. But that could be crushed as well if the audience don't receive it well.
Yeah, and I think as well, it is an industry which has been going for how long. And I think people are always going to produce because it's also money making, and you can't blame them, of course, So I think it's just going to be, it's up to the viewer's choice if they really want to sit through 5 days non-stop watching something, or if they say, look, you know what, I'm going to put boundaries in and I'm going to watch 3 episodes a day. That's it. And then to enjoy it a little bit more rather than watching it binge all the way through.
Maybe that's what they want.
People don't have the willpower anyway.
Yeah, that's what it is. They need to practice willpower.
Yeah, but maybe they do just want to switch off. Maybe that's why it's there, and that's why it's so successful. They have, I think our lives as human beings are getting more and more stressful, and, we don't stop and we don't think, we don't connect with ourselves anymore, and maybe they just come home and want to, escape reality, and that's why they want this comfortable sort of... They know what's going to happen. It's not going to shock them. They're there for a nice little experience to switch off for an hour. So I don't know.
I guess, if that's their way of relaxing, then that's probably exactly the concept they're going for.
It's why they're watching.
I would urge people, though, that do feel the need to escape everything and do that in television. Instead of watching it, try writing it. Because...
Yes.
You really can write yourself into another reality, and it is so much more immersive. And when you finish, it's not like, okay, that's done. It's like, now I can go somewhere with this. You can read back on it and feel a sense of pride, as opposed to being like, oh shit, I was just watching Netflix for 5 hours solid. Yes, that was great.
What have I done with my life?
Yeah.
So I would encourage people to do that more.
Better for your brain as well. I feel like the formula that's out there at the moment, we keep talking about it making us switch off, and I think as human beings we're so connected to all this electrical stuff and these visual images, and I think it just stifles creativity completely, and maybe as creative people, if that's what we're watching, we need to be really careful about the choices we're making, because then we will just create the same, won't we? Like if we're not...
I don't watch, I don't have Netflix, and I don't watch television either. I'll go to the cinema and watch some films sometimes, and I'll choose which ones. I do like a selection of genres because I think that's important. I used to do film reviews, so I got into that habit of watching everything, and that's when I first started realising that all the content is very similar. I was writing out reviews and I'm like, why are all the flaws identical? I could put them all in a row, and I was like, there is a real genre of what is going wrong coming through, and no one's really putting a spanner in that. And it was just force feeding the audience what they like and what they want, and what necessarily may not get rave reviews, but what they will turn out to the cinema to see. If it's got a hot person in it, addresses some issues, got some great new CGI, that always sells, a rising star that everyone can go follow on social media, an established actor that everyone's like, oh, well, it will be a good show. Yeah. And that's what people want. Yeah. There's not really much outside of that. By the time you tick all those boxes, there isn't much you can do to go outside of that.
Yeah. Same. Funny enough, I don't have a TV either.
There you go.
But I do have a laptop, and I watch Netflix. So if I do watch something, it'll be a show or a movie on Netflix. But the trap is, I think, it brings the next show within 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It does, yeah.
And you don't even have to click it. So I think you got to really train yourself to say, okay, cool, what's my time limit for today? To escape maybe from your stresses from the day, but don't be zonked out in it for 5 hours and then stay up longer, which creates less sleep, which creates a bad habit, and you feel even more drained, not just from the show, but from staying up late and that kind of stuff. So I think, for an entertainment industry, if you enjoy movies, just pick them wisely and just choose the ones you really want to watch, and don't just watch some random show just because it's on, because that will just deplete you, I think.
I feel like I need to rearrange my life now and dispose of all of my TVs.
You are welcome, no problem at all.
I'm like, you guys
have inspired you, Charlotte.
You're making me feel guilty about. All right, turning the TV off forever. When we're talking about, going back to, we were talking about what makes a good scene or what generally makes a good project or a good movie. I suppose, are we just talking about, audiences recognizing what they think is a good piece and awards? Do you what is the difference there? Do you think audiences care about awards? Start with that. Do you think audiences care about whether or not a movie has awards?
In general, I say if the movie has been nominated 5 times, they probably have an idea this is going to be a great movie. But then again, it depends on the person's own opinion, if they really enjoy that kind of genre, if they enjoy the actors, if they enjoy the story. So I think, just because somebody says, oh, you got to go and see that film, doesn't mean I'm going to enjoy it. So I think a lot of people will fall for it and say, that's great, it has won 5 awards, I'm going to watch it. And perhaps usually it is a great movie, but it's your own opinion, what you're into, I think.
I'd say it's social proof reasons. When the original films come out, if anything, people look at the critic reviews, or they're going to say to their friend, hey, you saw that, what did you think? I think when something's actually nominated for an award, like the Oscars this year, everyone had seen all those films. And it's because people don't want to be the one person that hasn't seen it. People are like, so what did you think of Bohemian Rhapsody? And they don't want to be that idiot that's like, well, I didn't watch it. So it's almost like when something is up for a big award, by default, the pressure of other humans around us, we feel like we're streamlined into we have to see it. Doesn't matter if we don't want to, we have to see it because we don't want to look like the weirdo. So I think in that way, awards press people into watching something because maybe they're insecure in themselves as well, and they want that, be able to, a conversation where they can say, well, this is what I thought. Even if they say, oh, well, I thought that actor could have been cast better, which is pretty well what everyone says. But, like they could do better.
Well, do you think awards contribute to talking about, as actors and writers and behind the screen as well? Do you think awards change what gets created in regards to short films and movies? And do you think it puts pressure on, this moment on screen? What do you think the effects are of awards on, what happens within a short film, or what happens for actors and basically all of the team? Like, do you think that's a thought, or do you think people are just creating work?
I don't think it puts, pressure or it changes it to the worst or better. I think an award should be just an acknowledgement of, excellence, but even just being nominated is the same thing, but only 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 can take it home. So I think it's just the cherry on top if you do take the award home. But if you have been nominated and you did fabulous work in a film, short film, whatever it might be, I think that you should be proud of that just alone. So I don't think losing or winning the award will make a difference. I'm sure it will boost certain people's profiles and certain people's income and that kind of stuff, and gives them more options, but it doesn't mean that the person who was nominated or wasn't nominated is less successful or less brilliant than the one who won it.
Because it's also because everybody is going to have a different idea of what is a good film and what contributes to that. Like with my production company, we've done 4 films, and that's been in about 6 months, and they've taken over 30 awards between them, not including nominations and official selections. But
congratulations.
I know, she's
thank
amazing.
you very much. But some of them do better than others, and in different categories. Like we've got the one which is the drama. It's kind of a black comedy about sexual assault on film sets, and it's tackling a very heavy topic, and a lot of festivals won't touch it, and that is the same problem we were having when we were originally filming it. A lot of filmmakers were like, look, I love that, but I don't think at your age, because I'm only 18, you can tackle that. And I did. And it worked, obviously. But there are some people and festivals that are like, no, something needs to be told. But there are also people, going back into what we were saying, that are going to shy away from anything that's a little bit different. And I think an award, originally it can serve as, okay, so it was what I thought. It's just a clarification. I think for a lot of actors, especially, if they win an award, it's a huge boost. I find a lot of my actors have won awards, and I love that for them. They seem really excited about it. Now that my films are winning so much, it starts losing it. It's more just okay, it's just a clarification. It's not something you get overly excited about. If anything, it's a little bit sad because people do put so much value on the awards. And I find that in our creative industry, people, especially in Perth, it's tiny, they will treat you so differently just because of one award which was overseas. And it is sad because nothing has changed. It's still the film that we made. We're still the same people. We just happen to be now validated, if you like. And people are very, very shallow in that, I find.
I think, so then bringing it back to what we were talking about at the start, should we just be focusing, this is my opinion, but please tell me what you think, as actors and as people involved in these projects, should we just be focusing on our own magic and, what we think makes a good moment on screen then, rather than worrying about what the industry thinks? Do you think that will...
Well, you obviously sign up to a film or a story if you can stand behind it, You're not just going to do... So if you want to express yourself creatively through a certain movie, if it's short or long, it doesn't matter, definitely do it, and don't care about what other people think about it, because it's your way of expression. If you can stand 100% behind the idea and you think it's good and it's not going to harm anybody, go for it. Do it. Yeah, because... maybe that's what other people needed to see, exactly that film, to think about something they never thought about before, rather than going, oh no, that topic is a bit, we probably shouldn't, because people be offended and people be upset about it. But if it's done in a respectful way, I think it is your right to express yourself, to maybe alert other people about a certain topic, That's what think about that.
And I think it comes down to not bashing people, making sure we create an unbiased creation where people can make up their own minds. And I do think being on set, it is very important that we look at the end goal of the story and not at the end goal of the accolades further down the track. By the same token, don't make something that's never going to see the light of day just because everyone's going to hate it, the festivals are going to hate it. Make a good quality something that, like Andreas was saying, everyone is going to stand behind, that you feel is right to yourself. And then I think go forward, do that, and who cares what anyone thinks. And if you win the awards, if you believe that that was the best that you could do, honestly, that's all that's going to matter at the end.
That's all it takes, exactly. Yeah, I think we're not, as actors, we're not out here to win awards. If you get one, fantastic. But that is a panel of so many people saying, yeah, we really like that film, we really like that actor. But there's millions of people out there who might say, oh, I didn't like that actor, but they weren't there to vote for it. So it's just somebody's opinion. So as long as you enjoy your craft and you're passionate about it, go and do it.
Just go and do it.
Yeah.
But by the same token, use your films and your awards as stepping stones to go to the next level. Like with mine, I'm not being too controversial or anything. You take it to the next level where you have a platform to really use your voice. Be careful not to use all of your voice when no one's listening. Basically, make sure you can climb to that point where people do listen first.
So step by
step. Hurry slowly, as someone told me the other day, very wisely.
Hurry slowly. I like that a lot. I can't believe it's at the 31-minute mark. I got so invested in what you guys were saying, I don't even think I followed half of the things I meant to follow. But I do think I had a follow-up question, and that is, for both of you, what is your most authentic moment on screen and why?
Ooh.
I think for me, as an actor,
or not, whatever comes to you, but even if it's something you've created to be an authentic moment, that's fine too. But what is your most authentic moment creatively on screen or contributed to?
Like an actual film that has happened or a scene.
It doesn't have to be. It just could be something that's recorded and for some reason or another you just thought it was really authentic and watchable and magic. Making you guys think here.
Yeah, I was just thinking back about a little short film we did, and I was acting along a child actor, and I think I was playing his dad and just being, and he was, it's called The Sound Silent Makes. It won nearly an award as well.
Oh,
there you
well.
go. You
There you go.
talking about awards, so I'm
Validation.
just saying that. Exactly, because some people said, oh yeah, that film is good. But just playing a dad and being with a child actor, I think you are more immersed in a scene because it's a child. I don't know, it just creates this different feeling of protection or, care than if you act along an adult actor. And in the scene, the kid regained his hearing, and I was just genuinely happy for him to hear. So that made my response was so genuine and true that I was just like so excited for him that he could all of a sudden hear again that possibility. So that is one moment for me where I say that was a really lovely time on set and a really nice scene, which made me think that was magic.
It was magic, yeah. I think working with kids is great for that because they don't have any filters yet, and I was watching this documentary about one of the kids that was in ET, or maybe it was something that Annie showed us in class, I'm not sure, but someone was showing me this. It was just so believable because they don't have those filters and everything is so real for them. Every scene is real for them because their imagination is just, it's uncensored. It's not like ours. And I think working with kids is such an opportunity because it does put you straight into that zone because it's so real. I think bouncing off someone like that, even if they're young, is like, obviously I'm not saying older people can't do that too, but kids do it so naturally that, it just connects you into that moment, and then straight away your responses and your behaviour and your acting is just natural because you're there, you're in the scene, and you can really connect.
It creates natural instincts in you just by having a child
Yeah.
in that scene, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
And then you're not thinking about the emotions, they're coming naturally. You've got your objective in the scene, you know what you want to talk about, but everything else that happens is just sort of real. And obviously very watchable if it's won an award,
Yeah.
which is amazing. What do you think? What's your...
Oh, I'd say it would actually be a self-test that I didn't book. And I was taping it with my wonderful coach, Miles Pollard. And we'd been at it maybe half an hour and I just wasn't feeling it. It was probably the worst performance I've ever given in my life. And I was just like, Miles was like, what is it? Because it's good, but I can guarantee you whoever's going to book this role is going to go a lot further than that. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
And I thought, shit, sorry now I swore, but
It's so fun.
I literally thought, well, that's all I can do. I can't give anything. And I think that's something that a lot of actors get to. They'll get to a point, they'll be like, I can't relate to this. I can't give anything. I feel like I can't do anything. So I went out into the hall and I just had a drink of water and I was like, I think that's it. I can't act anymore. I can't do it. I walked back in and he was like, do you want to have one more shot? And I was like, yeah, okay. I can't do it. And I started and I wasn't really trying anymore. I wasn't honing in on this is the tool here. This is what I want. I was just like, you know what? I'm just doing it for him, but that's it for my acting. And when I let go, suddenly I realised that I was so in it. I felt like this character. And I got to the end of the scene and Miles had tears in his eyes. And I was like, wow. And I said, and he was like, how did that feel? And I said, well, for the first time that actually felt like I was me.
Yeah.
And that's when, and then I was like, well, my acting career is not over. And I didn't book that. But it was the first time I'd actually felt like I was impacting someone and like I was in a moment being someone else, but I wasn't really someone else. I was myself. Yeah. And I think that's very powerful, just having that vulnerability and that ability to let go. If you can achieve that, it doesn't, everything else ceases to matter suddenly, because really it is all about just touching someone. And that's the moment for acting.
Coming out of your head and just
being
in
there.
The scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think talking about, maybe to wrap up, because it's now very late into the podcast, I'm just so excited about what you're saying, but I think that is a nice way to wrap it up. I think that is the magic of a moment on screen, that being able to connect and your reactions, what both of you have said, being so real that you therefore move somebody watching. I think that for me would be the definition of a magic, watchable, authentic moment on screen. Would you agree?
I agree with that, for sure.
If you believe it, they'll believe it.
Yeah. And I like that even though, you didn't book the job or whatever, it doesn't, and, two varying experiences. Both of you moved people. Yes, it wasn't recognised, by booking or getting an award, and over here it was, but the truth and the magic of the moment is still there, and I think that's what's important to remember as well. If you bring that to every scene, like you were saying earlier, don't worry about anything else. Get behind your project, get behind your why, connect to the scene, be authentic, and just let go. And then I think that's all you can do to create magic.
That is
maybe.
Correct. Yeah.
Maybe we've solved the world's problems
Guys,
in one podcast.
I think we did. Listen to this and you will be
moved and impacted, and you will walk away a different person who will throw out their TV, do some stuff,
start watching Netflix for hours, just limit your time.
And try to impact people around you, not even in film, but just day-to-day life.
This is it. We've got the magic formula right here. We've nailed it today. We've solved the, actor's problem. This is it. We'll sell this for a fortune and write a book. and that's it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for joining me, Bella and Andreas. I've had so much fun talking to you, and I really value your time, and hopefully people listening at home have had the same experience. Where can we check you out? Where can we find you? Tell us everything. That was very noisy. Sorry about that at home.
Well, if you want to find me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is Isabella Jacqueline Official, because I'm officially me.
Yeah, you are.
And then my production company, which is all the films I've directed and things, that's Other Side Films, otherside.films on Instagram. So, yeah. And what about you?
Well, if you want to find me, just look for me.
Just look for you.
Look for
Oh
me.
my
You'll be
goodness.
around in your mind.
I'll be on Instagram with the AP Jesus is alive. So
AP Jesus is alive. I love
I always
that.
like that when he likes one of my posts. I'm like, I feel good.
You feel loved.
yeah,
So follow him. It's a good feeling.
thank you.
I'll be sure to link both of you in our Instagram thing. If you want to find us, you can find us at Twitter at dramatic_post. You can find us on Instagram at postdramaticstresspod. You can find us via email via postdramaticstresspod@gmail.com. Please get in touch if you liked what you heard today, or if you didn't like what you heard today. I'd love to hear from you.
We wouldn't.
Yeah, these guys might not, but I would. Or if you'd like to be on the show, please get in touch and come on board. Thank you so much, and see you soon for episode 6.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Post Dramatic Stress. To connect with us or to register to come on the podcast, visit us at www.lettingcharlotteout.com or email us via postdramaticstresspod@gmail.com.